What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more AFK Journey, and today we have the official launch tier list coming your way. We've already had one that's kind of like an older closed beta early game tier list. This one is going to be an overall tier list, but please make sure you take the time and listen to what we say about each hero, because this is an overall tier list. I'm going to tell you guys how good this hero is in the early game, the mid game, and the late game, and then we're going to place them in a tier that kind of averages all of those scores out. So some heroes might be like B tier early game and S plus in the late game. Probably stick them somewhere in the A tier, but again, the explanation really matters. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. If this helps you guys out, take 1 second, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment down below if you think we should move anybody, or if you have had a good experience with a specific hero we might have ranked a little too low. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's get going. So just remember, at the end of this, I'm going to put a link in the description to the graphic for this, because it might get a little crowded up here. We have a lot of heroes to go through and probably quite a bit of time as well. So we're going to start with the number one hero on our list, Rowan. Rowan is going to be pretty much S plus in the early game. He's going to be S plus in the mid game. He does fall off on certain game modes like later game, which brings him down to an S tier. And it's mainly because he's not like 100% required for Dream Realm, so that's kind of what bumps his score down. But overall, I would say he's like a solid S hero. Second up is going to be Vala. Vala is in a very similar situation to Rowan here. She's really good in the early game. She's a ranged unit that also jumps into melee. She does fall off in the mid and late game, more down to like a regular S tier. She has some uses. She's decent in PvP. There's one boss, the Necro Draken, that she is really good at, while the other ones she's just decent at, which is why she's still in the S tier. Next up, we have the big old tank. I'm putting him to the front of the list that we're showing you right here, because Thoran is the best tank in the game, essentially. He's the best pretty much early game, the best late game. He's amazing in Croaker in the Dream Lane. He's amazing in PvP, and he's still really good in all the other Dream Realms that we have. So if there is a late game tank you want to build, it's Thoran. If there's an early game one, he's usually pretty good. If you are free to play, he's a little harder to build, but keep that in mind. Now, after Thoran, we're going to go to our first Hypogean hero. And to be honest, he's probably going to be one of the highest heroes on this entire tier list. Reinier. He is a support hero. He's going to be your first celestial / hypogean you go for on your account, and he's going to be S plus, the best of the best, every game mode. Please build this hero. Next up, we are going with the healer Hewynn. So she is probably one of the best solid output healers in the game. She's absolutely amazing in campaign, like beginning, middle, and end. She's decent in PvP. She, however, lacks in the Dream Realm, because besides healing, she doesn't really provide that much compared to other support heroes in the game. She's still very good and definitely up at the top of the list. However, she does require a little bit more investment, and probably not one free to play should necessarily go for immediately, but she's still very strong. Going back to a Graveborn DPS, we have Cecia. So Cecia, you are guaranteed to get on your first 10 pull in the game, which is amazing. She summons her big monster that roots everybody on the other side of the battlefield, does damage. She then heals it. She's a ranged unit, very strong. Story mode, she's going to be good. Beginning, middle, end game, really solid. And then she's just good in Dream Realm in most situations. PvP, she's really good. Absolutely hero I would consider building. Now, next up, we have a hero that is very good in the early game, and that is Valen. He's very good. Like, I'm talking about really solid because, well, you get him completely free. However, he does fall off. Once you get to more of the mid game, he drops down to like a B tier. Much later in the game, he's more like a C or even D tier hero. But because he's really solid in the early game, we're going to go ahead and stick him in the B tier overall. He's a decent damage dealer, but he will fall off eventually on your account. After Valen, we are going to go to one of my favorite tank / damage dealing hybrids in the game. And that right there is Brutus. Brutus is going to go in the A tier because once again, he's really strong in the early game, especially when you need like a front row tank type hero that can take a lot of damage, go immune, and then take more damage and give your team just time to go. He will fall down to like an A or even B tier a little bit later on in game, and he's not necessarily the greatest in too many Dream Realm. He's just okay in everything. He's decent in PvP, but he's a pretty solid overall hero. After Brutus, we're actually going to go to another hero we're going to put in the S tier, and this is actually the hero Lyca, who we are going to get free, the first copy, just from pre-registering for the game. Again, a hero that's very, very good in the early game. I'd actually put her overall value probably above Brutus. Very good in the early game, and she stays pretty solid overall through the rest of the game. Dream Realms, PvP, she's kind of like just a solid A tier, so she's borderline S tier early game, drops down to A tier. Really good damage dealer to have on your team though, especially if you're going wilders. Now this next hero, Viperian, we've talked about it if you're gonna go for a type of Graveborn team early game. However, he is going to severely drop off in the later game. Viperian is amazing in story mode. We're talking about like S tier. But when we're talking about all the other battles, we got Dream Realm, we got PvP. He's still really good in PvP. Dream Realm, though, he's kind of like one of the lowest quality heroes. And I think because he suffers so much in like the overall Dream Realm, which is probably one of the most important parts of the game to get your A-level heroes up, it does bring his value down. Would I be borderline A tier on him? Maybe, but because he falls off so hard in that very important game mode, heavily investing in this hero isn't the best move, but it is still a solid pick if you're going for a Graveborn team. The next tank we are putting on this list is going to be Granny. And again, Granny also feels like a hero that I want to put somewhere between the A and the B tier, because as far as story mode goes, she's like an S tier tank hero. But then you put her into the Dream Realm and everything, she falls off. Pretty much non-existent usefulness. She has like one that she's decent at, but she is still a solid PvP hero as well, which is why I kind of want to bump her up to that A tier. Next up is actually one of my favorite healers in the game, because not only does he heal, but he also completely buffs your entire team. We're going up with Smokey near the very top. Smokey and Meerky, S tier all the way through most content. S plus in certain game modes in Dream Realm, while like S or B tier kind of for others. He's just really, really good. Would I probably bump him a little bit lower in the list? Maybe I'd drop him down a tier or so here, but he is definitely S tier quality. Him and Rowan are two of the best heroes to have as supporters in the early game. If you get a Meerky, build him up. The next hero is a wilder I have not had too many opportunities to get my hands on, but from what everybody says, Brian is a very solid damage dealer. Story mode, very solid S tier type hero. Dream Realm, about like an A tier. I think for that sake, because I kind of put a little bit more weight on Dream Realm, if you haven't noticed, probably putting him closer to like this spot. If you really want to see how I'm ordering these, if the hero's on the left side of the tier, I think that means they're better than the hero that you're going to find on the far right, which is why I kind of want to put him up there with Lyca. Very good damage dealer. Keep him in mind. If you get a copy, you might want to start building him. This next hero I used to have much lower in my tier list, but he's only an A-level hero, and he is probably one of the most important heroes to have when it comes to that Dream Realm. And because of that, he's pretty solid in the story mode too. He's going way up in this list as far as important heroes go on your account. That is Korin. Korin is a damage dealer. Literally like the best damage dealer for every single Dream Realm boss. The only place he really suffers is PvP. He's very below average in PvP. But again, story important, Dream Realm important, one of the best. And speaking of the best, the other hero that fits right next to him as far as best in Dream Realm, that is going to be Odie. Yes, another A-level hero. Odie is actually probably even better overall, just because Odie has more value, I would say, in the story campaign mode. And he's almost as good as Korin in all of these bosses. He's actually better than Korin on a couple, but if you have Odie and Korin going for your Dream Realm team, mwah, you are going to succeed. Please build both these A-level heroes. And you know what? Since we are talking about those crazy good heroes, we're going to put another hero up here as well with the trio, Marilee. So Marilee is another one. I didn't realize when I first started playing how good she was. I think it's a she. Not as great in story modes, probably more like an A tier as far as the story and campaign goes, and honestly probably even lower than that for PvP. But if we're talking about Dream Realm, SSSSS, like top of the tier, these three heroes are like the heroes you want for Dream Realm. So please prioritize those three. They are very good. So we've kind of hit the point in the tier list. We're going to start seeing a lesser value on the average hero. And some of these are good. Other ones are like better in certain situations. The next one I want to talk about is that sharpshooter Walker. So Walker, I'm going to give a lower A tier ranking to. He's a pretty good energy range damage dealer. He's okay in campaign. He's pretty decent in Dream Realm, and he's not that great in PvP. But when you compare him to other heroes, he's still a solid pick. Now, the next hero I think is probably one of the really good utility / support heroes to have on your team in the early game, but he will fall off down the road. That is Lucius. Very solid early game, and then just mediocre for the rest of the game. Mediocre for Dream Realm, mediocre in PvP. A solid pickup, easy hero to build. That's a nice healing / tank hybrid, but he will lose value very quickly. This next hero I have very limited experience with, so I'm going off of what other people have typically said. So if you guys agree or disagree, please leave a comment down below. Rhys, pretty much just an A tier hero across the board. Has one Dream Realm that she's decent at. PvP, not that great at. Is what it is. Now, this is our first Celestial we're going to be talking about, because there's technically only two, and we're going to talk about Scarlita. So Scarlita is definitely going up somewhere in the S tier. I don't know exactly where I want to put her, and of course on the screen here is going to they're going to disappear in a little bit here. So if you really want to see where they match up at the end of this tier list, please take a look at the image in the link down below. Very good in specific scenarios. Godly in PvP, godly against Skyclops in Dream Realm, decent across most of campaign and the story, and then gets even better later on. She is, however, one of those Celestials you need to invest more in to really get the bang out of her. Not a free-to-play friendly hero, in my opinion. After that, we are going to Silvina, and again, this one I feel like I'm going to be putting her down in the B tier, because yes, she can be pretty decent in the early game and campaign. She can be decent in PvP. She gets better in the late game as far as campaign goes, but when it comes to the important Dream Realm, she's very low tier. So you got some like A's, S's, you got some C and D's. B kind of sounds about right. Now, this next hero I love in the honor duel, but he's still a pretty solid hero when it comes to campaign, to certain game modes. Shakir is absolutely solid in the early game. He gets even better in the late game, and he's actually pretty solid when you talk about Dream Realms and PvP. I would be borderline wanting to bump him up to S tier, but I feel like S tier is already too clumped up, and I don't know if he quite meets that qualification compared to some of the others up there. So very good A tier, maybe even S tier hero. Next up is Koko. Koko is the newest hero to the game from the closed beta, open beta time period, and honestly, I didn't get a chance to even try her. However, I've been told she is an extremely good overall S tier hero on this list. I would probably bump her down lower in the list overall, but being that she's an S level, it is technically easier to build her than, like, say, a Celestial or something. Very good across the board. S tier when it comes to all the Dream Realms, PvP. Very good. However, early game she is weaker. So if you only have like a single copy of her or a couple copies, she's not going to be as impactful as if she's fully built up. Now, I know a lot of people love this hero. Me personally, I don't find as much value in him. That is going to be Igor. So Igor in story and PvP, going to be almost S tier, like borderline A S tier. The biggest reason why I don't like Igor is Dream Realm. Again, he's one of those heroes that has like bottom of the barrel quality when it comes to Dream Realm, and I really put a heavy investment into Dream Realm when I rank this, so just keep that in mind. He could probably be bumped up to an A tier. I just personally, in my experiences with him, dislike him. So B tier, A tier, borderline. The next hero, again, another one I'm not a big fan of, mainly because of the way of her ultimate kind of runs around all over the battlefield. But I think we have to put another A borderline S tier hero in Temesia. So early game, not that good. The more you build this hero up, the stronger they will get, all the way up to S tier. They have a couple situations like Necrodon in the Dream Realm where they're like one of the best heroes. However, the other ones, they're like decent or very below average, like with Croaker. PvP, she's just a solid-ish hero. Could I say she's S tier? Maybe, but I feel like, again, another one of those heroes kind of similar to Shakir, borderline A and S tier. I just personally don't like the way she plays. Next up is one of my favorite tanks in the game, but she doesn't have enough uses to really rank her super high, and that is going to be Antandra, the tank that is a wilder. Pretty solid early game. She gets even better in the story mode as you get like more copies of her, but again, she's decent in PvP, and then she falls off hard when it comes to the Dream Realm, which is why she's very good. She's easy to build. If you need a secondary or main tank, she can do the job pretty well. Just not as good as some of the S level tanks. After that, we have one of the heroes where I feel like you need to have a ridiculous amount of investment in to really truly make them good. But I would still give them like an A tier, and that's Dionel, the other celestial hero. Okay with one copy, extremely overpowered in campaign if you have him built up, like literally some of the best AoE damage in the game, but he's just okay mid-tier when he comes to just about all the Dream Realms. PvP, he can be very good as well. You could argue maybe he bumps up in the S tier because of certain qualities, but again, because he's not that great in Dream Realm, I do have to bring him down. And on top of that, this is not a hero a free-to-play or light spender should really go for. It requires way too much investment to make him worthwhile, and he's not really like the best at anything besides extreme late campaign. The next hero, oh man, I almost just still want to put her as the top of the C tier, Satrana. So she is like a caster, but she wants to run to like melee range, which makes her kit very awkward. The best tier I'd really give her is like B tier, and that's just because of like Dream Realm. In reality, most of her uses are C tier. She doesn't really scale well to the late game either, so just keep that in mind. After that, we're going to go with the starter healer that just about everybody gets on their account, or rather I should say everybody, because she's part of the story. That's going to be Faye. And honestly, Faye, I might even bump down to the D tier. She's okay in the early game. Everywhere else, she's pretty much bottom of the barrel stats-wise. Her healing is good when everything's clumped up. Gets really bad when they get further apart. Not that great to invest in. After that, we have Parisa. This is another hero I haven't used a lot of, and you could borderline probably put her in the B tier or the C tier here. She's pretty much just like average at just about everything in the game mode, so not someone I would heavily invest into, but isn't horrible at the same time. Another hero that fits pretty much the same scope there, they're almost identical, Mirael. She's again just like maybe B or C tier almost all the way across the board. Decent, just worse. Actually, you know, if I had to put a spot, I'd probably put her there just because she's worse in PvP than Parisa. Neither of them are great. They're okay options. Just don't. After that, we have the last Celestial / Hypogean with Berial. So Berial, again, I'd probably put him like top of the B tier, really. He does do okay in PvP. He does do okay in early campaign. He is one that you need to heavily invest in to make him better in the late game stages. However, he's probably like a B tier, maybe A tier when it comes to Dream Realm. He's an interesting hero because, again, he's very strong in PvP, and you'll probably find that most Celestial and Hypogen heroes are very good in PvP, but they might lack a little bit in other game modes, besides Reinier being like the best hero in the game. But keep that in mind when you are choosing your first Celestial or Hypogen. Probably not one to pick. We're coming to the finale here, and there are a couple heroes to still talk about. Next up, we're gonna talk about like Niru. Niru is decent at certain things. It's a weird healer because he wants to be in melee range, which immediately feels bad. He's like a good B tier overall. He has, you know, later game he can become an A tier in story, but overall, like, he's just, again, bottom of the barrel when it comes to Dream Realm, and he's just decent at PvP. So if you have other healing options, go with the other healing options. Now, Cassidy is an S level that I have not had that much experience with, but I feel like should be put somewhere up in the A tier. Okay, this hero can be okay in the beginning. She's definitely one that you want to invest more copies into if you are going to go with her route. She can be very good, and she is very, very good in the Dream Realm. Not great in PvP, which is probably what prevents her from being like an S tier hero, but still a very good option for Dream Realm. Just remember, this is a hero you need more hero copies of to really make her shine, and if you're free to play, it might not be a hero you technically want to chase. Next up, we have Damien, the healer that runs to the back of battles. Another really interesting one to talk about. And honestly, I think I want to put him very high up in the A tier because, well, in the early game, he's really not that great. He gets better and better into the late game as you get more copies of him. As far as supporting goes, he's unique in the fact that he's not on the battlefield and he can't die until the rest of your team is dead. So if you need a healer that's not going to get like sniped or taken away very quickly from the battlefield, he can be very good. He is a really good supporter when it comes to the Dream or my gosh, the Dream Realm. I don't know why I just like blanked right there after doing this tier list for so long. Something's gonna slip through, but just keep in mind he is one of like the best PvP healers in the game. He has a stun. He's really, really good. After him, we have Arden. Arden is the weird goat man that I just personally don't really enjoy, but he does have some niche uses. Again, very much like Damien, in the late game, as you get more copies, he does become better. However, the difference between him and Damien is the fact that he is like bottom of the barrel in all of Dream Realm. He is a good PvP hero, again, like Damien, but just falls way flat on the Dream Realm. Next up, we have another hero very similar and in the same faction to Shakir, and that is Seth. Seth, however, is a version of Shakir that requires more copies, in my opinion. He is very much weaker in the early game, but if you do get the copies built up, he actually turns into like an S tier hero in the campaign. The nice benefit of him is he's a really good hero in just about all of the Dream Realms, with what, Necrodon, I believe, is the one that he's really, really good at. And beyond that, he's still solid in PvP. He goes after backline heroes. I personally like him. Now we're going to come to some very niche heroes. And a couple of these rankings might get people on their bad side. And again, I apologize. These are a little bit personal opinion. Aaron, so not the best hero first off, probably on the lower tier with a single copy. Once you build this hero to max, probably one of the best campaign story heroes you will experience in this game with heavy investment. The downside is all of his Dream Realm, in my opinion, is like B tier or lower. Not great at Dream Realm. However, like I said, very, very good in PvP. So it is a huge slope. Honestly, I might actually just put him up in like the B tier somewhere, just because he does have, or the A tier, just because he does have some like pretty good niches, but overall quality he kind of lacks. So I'm gonna kind of push him off the screen, but just know probably an A tier, high B tier somewhere in that ballpark. Now, I could literally cut and paste what I just said for Aaron for Carolina. Same exact situation. One of the most powerful PvP heroes in the game. One of the most powerful late game heavy investment story campaign heroes. But again, very much middle of the road when it comes to Dream Realm. Again, I would say high B tier, maybe into the A tier as well with Aaron. Pretty much in the same spot. So just keep that in mind, A/B tier, because, well, you kind of have to heavily invest into both of them, and they're only amazing in niche game modes. Now, again, this next one is a struggle because Kruger is one of the best Dream Realm heroes, but in every other game mode in the game, he is literally at the bottom of the list, essentially. So it makes it really hard. He's literally S tier at Dream Realm and D tier at like everything else. So again, I think this is a hero we're gonna have to stick somewhere up in the A tier, kind of, just because really great in certain game modes, really bad in others. After that, we have Salazar, and man, I've been talking for so long, my voice is actually almost gone. Salazar, again, campaign and things like that, one of the lowest tier heroes in the game. However, he is okay. I'll say like okay in a lot of the Dream Realms. Not amazing, not anything crazy good, but like just okay. And to finish off this list, we are just sticking the rest of the 4 heroes down in the T tier. Not much to talk about with any of them. They are all just bottom of the barrel. They don't really even have any niche uses. Lamont, Kafra, Atlanta, I believe her name is. Oh geez, I actually forget her name. But yeah, bottom of the barrel. It is what it is. Well, that was a fun hour of ranking everything. Hopefully when I cut this down, it's going to be a nice 20 to 30 minute for all you guys to watch. But yeah, that is my rankings for the global launch of AFK Journey. If this helped you guys out, all the timestamps and everything to look at your favorite hero, let me know. And again, the first link in the description will have a link to the actual image file if you want to open that and keep it saved, or on a monitor if you're playing on PC. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure if you guys enjoy this, hit that thumbs up button. Let's get the algorithm going. Hit that subscribe button too. We are growing every single day, and we're gonna have a lot of AFK Journey content coming your way. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Hopefully this voice recovers before the actual event comes out, or rather the game. And I'll see you guys next time.